out of nowhere type of thing. Different vocal styles that'll start growled and clean, then growled and clean, all on the same song. It's just really, really well done. And, the song remains the same as the next track. Another really good song that I like as well. Very different metal influences throughout. Frozen Flame of Ice, very black metal-ish in many spots on that song. Lots of growled vocals on that one. Again, that's the one that really screams Ensiferum to me. Last Farewell is mostly clean vocals. And the shortest track on the album, and it's 5 minutes and 33 seconds. And like we were talking about, Unrelenting Force freaking rules. And that's Biv's favorite song, which is funny because, truth be told, we go, okay, well, hey, what snippet of the song are we going to play before we, do a review? And we both were like, well, my favorite track was this. Oh, crap. So was mine. So, Unrelenting Force was exactly that. What I found interesting about Unrelenting Force, and I'm curious your thoughts, Biv, is, again, knowing that this is you have one person doing the entire production, the entire album. There's so many layers to Unrelenting Force that have nothing to do with guitars or drums or vocals or anything. You know what I mean? There's keys, and there's just a lot of, ambient noises that all have a place that I'm sure just had to take countless days to produce that kind of stuff and come up with it. You know what I mean? I'm really impressed by the musicianship of Eugene, or however we're saying his name, right or wrong. This is a self-financed album. This guy doesn't have a label. I'm telling you what, do yourself a favor. If any of the things we're talking about are the kind of music you're into or that you dig, make sure you check out A Frozen Flame of Ice from Far Beyond. It's a really, really solid album. One of the better albums I've heard this year. And on top of that, probably the most surprising album I've heard this year. Of the band that I listened to that went, I wasn't expecting that at all. So actually, before I give my score, Biv, what did you end up giving it?
I gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
I gave it a 9 out of 10, actually. I was really, really impressed with how well it was done. And again, we have, Eugene, if I keep saying his name right or wrong. We have another Dan Sueno on our hands. We have somebody who can literally do it all, from guitar to vocals to bass to drums to production to mastering to everything. He's a one-man wrecking crew, and I'm telling you what, killer stuff. Check out Frozen Flame of Ice from Far Beyond. You will not be disappointed. If you're a metal fan, period, but especially if you're into, melodic death, some power, don't get me wrong. And if you're an Ensiferum fan, especially, again, just to me, this album screams that vibe. So if that's you, then you're a Far Beyond dude. Check it out.
Hey, this is Tony Piccoli from Imminent Sonic Destruction. You're listening to According to Metal.
That was On the Highest Mountain from Narnia, off their self-titled album, the newest album, of course, from these guys. And if you're a Narnia fan, you know that they've had periods of on again, off again, a brief hiatus they had. So when this album was coming out in 2016, we're definitely going to check out Narnia. And we've actually referenced, some of the members of the band and side projects they've done before. So excited to hear what's new from these guys. They've been doing this for quite some time. And I know this was an album that Biv was really looking forward to reviewing. So without any further ado, Biv, what did you think of Narnia's self-titled album, man?
Well, I want to give this a little bit of background. If you know Narnia, it's Christian metal, white metal. And Christian metal is judged, let's face it, historically it's judged more closely than probably any other genre of metal, because in the past, historically, their musicianship has been considered subpar compared to the secular metal world, right?
Right. No, that's fair.
So I guess they're always looked at more closely. Well, Narnia has been definitely one of the better acts. I would say them and Theocracy probably are two of the top acts in the white metal or Christian metal world. And, you know, whenever I hear something new from either one of these acts, I do hold it to a higher standard myself just because of their previous releases. And you and I have talked about this before. Do you judge it based on what you've heard from that band before? Is there a way to judge it on its own merits? I did it both ways with this one. And I have a lot of thoughts on it. First of all, I Still Believe, which I believe was their first single off of the CD, or at least the video-wise it was. Good video. Messengers came out after that, kind of an animated video, kind of weird. Didn't really understand that, but I'm not going to base the album on its video. But Reaching for the Top, which starts off the CD, has a really nice galloping pace to it to kind of kick things off. And, Jason, you've talked before about starting an album off on the right foot and how important that is.
Mm-hmm.
And they certainly did that here. And then, of course, I Still Believe, opening guitar work by C.J. Grimmer, which, by the way, we featured his side project band in the very first episode of According to Metal, Empire 21,
yeah.
which we called them Biv's Best Band of the very first episode we ever had. Biv's Best Band that you never heard of. And so here he is, just really just wailing his ass off on that guitar, just doing a great job. And then it goes into On the Highest Mountain, now, which we heard just a moment ago. On the Highest Mountain, in my world, could be the Christian rock anthem. I mean, it's unashamedly, lyric-wise, it's unashamedly in-your-face Christian. They don't back away from it at all, but yet it's a great tune. And if you're a believer, this could be something you could hang your hat on and say, this is like our rock anthem. Thank You is kind of the next track. It's a metal prayer almost.
Yes, it is. Well
like
said.
A ballady prayer.
Well, dude, sorry, not to steal your point. Dude, you couldn't have described that song any better.
Well, thanks. Thank you.
It's spot on. Seriously.
So, One Way to the Promised Land, background keys, very 70s prog rock, but then it switches to this modern hard rock song, and it's very well done. And I could go on and on. Messengers, good song, not so good video. Moving On has this really cool galloping riff. And then Set the World on Fire has that strong finish that also you talked about before, Jason, the bookends. All in all, a great CD. I'll save my score after I hear what your thoughts are.
Well, I'll tell you what. I know that you are more hip to Narnia than I am, but first of all, let me address the being white metal, Christian metal, whatever you want to call it. I'm kind of torn on my thoughts on this. And I knew what I was going to say until you started talking, and then I started thinking of it a little differently, so I'm just going to talk off the top of my head here, and I'm just curious your thoughts. What I love about what Theocracy does, and I know this is a Narnia review, but hear me out. What I love about Matt Smith and his vocal, or his lyrics, is they're obviously a Christian band. They are always involving some sort of lesson or some Bible story or something that somebody who believes in Christ and knows the Bible and believes in Jesus Christ and knows all of that understands where he's going, but yet at the same time is never something that is clearly Christian metal, and 99% of the time from the person who, quote unquote, would be put off by a Christian metal band. You know what I mean? Whereas Narnia, to your point, when you hear songs like Thank You and, a couple of the other tracks on The Highest Mountain, obviously, to your point, are very like, I Still Believe, by the way, is another one, which are all, I Still Believe on The Highest Mountain and Thank You. It's tracks 2, 3, and 4. They are just like, hey, by the way, here's some Jesus for you. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just think those who would be put off by Christian metal may unfortunately shy away from a band who is freaking awesome at everything. You know what I mean? Musically, really good stuff. Now, some of my favorite tracks, Reaching for the Top's a great track, and to your point, Biv, One of my favorites on the album, and does a great job of kicking off the album. Moving On, I really like. Who Do You Follow, I like also, actually. And Set the World on Fire, which, Who Do You Follow, Moving On, and Set the World on Fire are all tracks 7, 8, 9. So, I mean, you're going even later on in the album. But I can't think of one song on this album where I go, next. They're all very good. And I will tell you that, again, while I'd be lying to you if I told you I was, more of a Narnia fan than, say, a Theocracy, I'd be absolutely lying to you. But I will say I've walked away from this album actually very impressed of a band who's been doing this for quite some time. It sounds new. It doesn't sound stale, but it sounds different than their previous stuff. And I applaud them for, continuing to... I tip my cap to any white metal band for that, what you said in the beginning, Biv, and that reason alone of, there's a lot of people I know that were metalhead. Well, I won't get into that. All I'll say is that, there's people I know who no longer listen to metal because they believe of all of the negative connotations that black metal and so many other metal bands have brought onto the forefront of, believing in, Satan and all that stuff. And I'm not here to preach, and neither is Biv, neither any of us. I don't care. It's metal. Listen to it. And rock out, no big deal. But for Christian metal bands to continue to say, we're going to make music and we don't care what the lyrics are, and we're unashamedly believers in Christ, I find that... I can't believe I'm going to say ballsy when we're talking about Christian metal, but it is, And I think it's very well done, and I applaud bands like Narnia for continuing to doing what they're doing in 2016 in a day and age in which it's not real easy to make a lot of money off of music nowadays anyway. And on top of that, to make music that is even going to be more of a hard sell in the metal community. Bravo, Narnia. Great job.
What'd you give it?
I actually gave it an 8 out of 10. What did you think?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Believe it or not, this is going to be my second perfect review of the year.
Wow! Good. Well, you know what? That's fine, though. I don't necessarily disagree with where you're going.
Because what's funny, I thought about this earlier today as I was prepping for the show. Holy Grail was
right.
Was my other, even though they're not holy at all, they're not a Christian metal band.
I didn't think of that. That's funny.
But,
Holy Grail,
but nonetheless,
Biv, you clearly are showing your true colors. Holy Grail and Narnia. I see where you're going.
I know, right? But I absolutely thought, from what it is, and that's what we have to judge it on, is the context of what it is. For, to your point, having the wherewithal to fly in the face of secular rock and metal and say, we don't care. We're going to stay true to who we are and what we believe. And to do this, and to do it with a quality of musicianship that they've done it with. And as you said, every single track is very strong. I could not find a flaw with this CD. I listened to it many, many times, and I will continue to listen to it many, many times. So all I got to tell you, Theocracy, when your CD comes out here in a few weeks, you guys have always kind of been 1 and 1A in the Christian metal world. You've got a lot to compete with here in terms of, holding that seat, which I think they have held since their last 2 CDs as the premier Christian metal band. And we're going to see. But Narnia, well done.
Wow.
10 out of 10.
There you go. 10 out of 10 from Biv, his second perfect score. But can't go wrong either way. Whether you're a believer, whether you're not a believer, if you're a metalhead, you believe in the power of metal, and that's what Narnia brings you on this one. Check them out.